the very first day when I got off the plane, and I remember just being so excited. The very first time we got on our bikes and we just started pedaling, and I was so excited. And I remember it started raining and it started coming down really hard. If you know anything about New Zealand, it rains just about every single day, a couple times. And so I was in my brand new suit, brand new shirt and tie, and they were all just drenched. I said to myself, like, this is gonna be a long 2 years. But I loved every minute of it. You know, it was one of the first weeks of my mission. I went to an Islanders house for Sunday afternoon for dinner, and the Islanders, you know, before we started eating, he said, you know, Elder Reese says, you know, this is your first couple weeks here. We want to tell you one thing, and that's how Islanders eat. He said, we Islanders, we don't eat to live like you Americans do. He said, we eat to die. And, you know, going throughout my mission, I learned that they really do eat to die. There were so many times we had like 4 meals a night. One of my companions gained about 40 pounds, and you're just eating all day, every day. Members will come and drop off McDonald's, or they'll come drop off groceries to your apartment, because they love the missionaries, and they know that when they serve the missionaries, the Lord will bless them. They're people of amazing faith, and it's always amazing to see the blessings that do come from when they feed us. You know, they eat a diversity of food there in New Zealand. A lot of them really like baked food, so like baked potatoes or like roast dinners. And so they eat a lot of the foods that we eat here. I would say the things that they eat that are differently, they eat a lot of seafood, and they eat, a lot of the Islanders love meat. Occasionally you go to a dinner and there'll be like a whole entire bowl of steak, a whole entire bowl of chicken, a whole entire bowl of pork, you know, and it's just a whole slew of different types of meat. So by the end you're really full, and it's really easy to gain weight there because everybody tries to feed you. I figure here people try to feed you to be nice. There they try to feed you out of love. I remember it was like the first couple days of my mission. We were riding our bikes, and I saw this guy walking on the street, and I got so excited. I was like, oh, we're gonna go talk to him. And anyways, we went up to him, and he had all this KFC in his hand, and he was actually taking it to a family party. And we're like, hey, like, we're the missionaries. And he's like, oh, I know, I'm Methodist. He's like, I'm not interested in what you're sharing, but do you want to come over for dinner tonight? And unfortunately, we were actually going to dinner, so we didn't have an opportunity to go with him. But people there will give everything that they have to you, whether you're a part of their religion or not, just because they love the love that they have for other people. It's apparent to see in all that they do. So my favorite food was Samoan food, because they make really good food. One of my favorite drinks that they have is Coco Samoa, and it's cocoa bean, and they grind it up and they put it, I'm not sure how they make it, but it's really good. The first time I had it, I didn't like it, but it slowly like grows on you. And they have bananas. They're like green bananas, and they take them and they bake them in the oven, and they kind of taste like a potato when they're done, but they're really good. And then they usually have coconut cream on them. That's my favorite Samoan food. And like the New Zealand food, the LMP, New Zealand is known for LMP. It's a soda that they only make there. There's a little town that they have a giant LMP bottle, and it's the best drink ever. And Tim Tams, if you've ever had Tim Tams, they'll be your favorite. Everybody there loves to have Tim Tam slams, they call them. And they're these little cookies, and you bite like each end of it, and then you drink hot chocolate through it, or Milo as they call it there. And it's really good. The Maori people love to have boil up, so they take cabbage and they put it in a pot. They take a bunch of other vegetables, and usually bones of, you know, like pig bones, and they'll put it in there with a little bit of meat on it, and then they'll eat that. And it's the first time I had it, I didn't really like it. I didn't think it was very good, but after a while it slowly grows, and you kind of like all the food. Yeah, Hamilton's a pretty safe place to live. Towards Auckland, there's a lot more population diversity, and so there's places up in Auckland that are a little bit scarier, but Hamilton is a really safe city to live. Houses are a little bit different there. They don't have a lot of insulation, and so they get really cold in the winter. For example, the house we lived in, the apartment, was just cinder blocks, and so it would get pretty cold at night in the winter. It's a really pretty city. There's like a lake right in Hamilton. The people there are really nice. You could go and you could talk to any single person there, and they'd come up and they'd have a conversation with you. New Zealand is a giant melting pot. There's, you know, individuals from every different island, you know, from Kiribati or from Fiji or Samoa or Tonga, and, you know, there are people from China, from India. So there's so many different types of people, and so many different cultures, you know, coming together. The Maoris, I really think one word to describe Maoris is love. or as they say in New Zealand, aroha. I remember there was a member, and we were really, really close with him. He was one of the nicest guys, and I remember we were over there one day, and he was wearing this shirt, and I said, I really, really like your shirt. And 2 minutes later, he's like, I gotta go upstairs. So he ran away, and then he came down and he gave me a shirt that he was wearing, because he had so much respect and love for the missionaries that he'd give him the shirt off his back. And I really think that exemplifies the Maori people. They love they love everyone. They're really, really amazing people. They look very similar to the Native American people, as they both are descendants from the Book of Mormon. And they're very, very close to the Spirit. Oftentimes they'll tell you dreams they had or visions that they saw. And they have a place, a meeting house that they call a marae. And in the middle of every marae they have a post. And in their culture, this post is very, very sacred to them. And when there's people who aren't members of the church who know all these traditions, and on the walls they have all of these drawings, but all of them are, they call whakapapa, or genealogy of all their family history. And they trace it all the way back to the or to the time before they left and they crossed the sea. And so oftentimes they tell stories, they sing songs about crossing the sea. When they meet other people and when they explain who they are, they have all their genealogy memorized. And they say it through memorization, as they state in the Book of Mormon. They also, when people pass away, as you know, in the Book of Alma, when one of the kings dies, they lay him on the ground for 3 days. They don't bury him. They don't do that. Or they still do that today in New Zealand. When individuals in their family pass away, they leave them out and they let other people come and mourn over the body. And so all these traditions and cultures that the Maori people believe, who aren't members of the church, are drawn, you can draw specifically back to the Book of Mormon. And so when you show them the comparison of the two, and you show them where they came from and where those cultures came from, it's a really amazing experience. There was a time when the people in New Zealand were looking for a church to go to, many of the Maori people, and they had the Catholics coming over from England and a bunch of other churches that were trying to convert people to come to them. And so a Maori king, he said, I'm going to figure out which church is right for the Maori people. And so he went and he prayed. He fasted and prayed for 3 days. And when he came out at the end of those 3 days, he told the people, he said, the true church is for the Maori people is not here yet. But when they come, they will come 2 by 2. They will come from the east. And when they pray, they'll raise their right arm to the square. And so the people at that time, they didn't have the church. But shortly thereafter, 2 missionaries showed up to one of their villages, and they offered to pray. And they noticed immediately that these people were the fulfillment of the prophecy that was proclaimed so long ago. And right then and there, a whole entire village was baptized. And from there, the Maori people just continued to flourish in the gospel. And so many, many wards have a lot of Maori people who have been in the church for a long time. And some of the early missionaries, like Matthew Cowley, have some amazing stories about how people just flocked to the church in the early days in New Zealand. Whereas today, now there's so many descendants, and the church is really strong there. Kia ora, friends from New Zealand. I want to thank you for everything you did for me while I was serving. You really taught me how to love other people. Those experiences and those times that we spent together, I'll never ever forget. When you give everything you have to the Lord, and you give all of your desires, all your dreams, all your all your personal things to the Lord, He'll take you and make you into a completely new person. It is an amazing experience that I'll never forget.